Welcome to week 10 of Design 330. This is our second week of our tiny house individualized project. And so let's see what we've got. Of course, we've got a YouTube playlist, which we have every week. And that has not so many this week. It's just a get down and work week. Let's see what's up. Watch the videos. The videos can be found in the playlist, or most of them can also be found on the activity guide. All of them but this one, essentially. So as always, take your time and watch the topic videos. I suggest you watch them all first and then watch them one at a time as you go through the activities. We do have an activity guide, an assignment guide, and we have some goals this week, which are, we're going to continue with some of the first steps common to a design process, and I talk about those here. We're going to focus on one or more of the improvements from your last week's design review, update those concept visualizations to the point where they would be sufficient to begin detailed design work. And some of you may not know what that is. And so I'll go over that a little bit and give you a demonstration of that in the activity guide. But basically, you can get good at this by asking yourself a lot of questions. Do I have the information to draw it properly and to scale? Do I have the information to find out how to draw it properly and to scale? So in other words, is there information available that will help the designer either with standards or specs or pre-drawn things? Have I shown enough visuals so that somebody who's not intimately just knowledgeable about the project can figure it out from what you've modeled and shown? And then will your packet be appropriate and enough to get project approval? You have to consider that some people may not care too much about your project, might not know very much about the project, or might even have their own project that they'd like to have done instead of yours. So you taking all that into account, that's why I say appropriate. For us, we just want to know that enough information is there so that somebody could decide that this is a good project to move forward on. Okay, and so our drawings are going to get just a little bit more complex. Not a lot. Here's a copy of how we're going to finish it up. You see, we're going to add on to the end some more work. So you can see I've got a little bit more detail now, a little bit more information. I've got kind of a lot more annotations, and I even have some dimensions. So all of those things are going to help us. And, it's not just a cylinder anymore. Now it's sort of a spool, because somehow there's got to be a little hook in mind for the wire to hook into and hold on to. And then it's got a spool in a way that it doesn't just fall off. These things have to hook together so they drive together through this one ratchet. And somehow all of this has to fit onto the existing rod. So I've really upped the ante quite a bit. It's still not a detailed drawing. It's still not ready for fabrication. It's still not even fully dimensioned. I'm just giving overalls. But I'm moving towards what somebody could use to actually design this. Okay? And then you'll have a summary of a who, what, where, when, why, and how. So you've got an assignment guide. That's all good. There's a resource folder, which I just showed you. It's got my sample in it and your assignment guide. I'm going to come back to the discussion activity at the end, because it's really important, and it's actually a pretty hard one. So I get it if you guys struggle with it a little bit. Many people, this may be the first time you're asked to have a discussion activity like this, and it's okay. If you don't know how to do it or you struggle with it, just give it a good old college try. That's what they call it, and do your best, and 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 try to learn something from it. This takes a lot of practice. Okay, so we do have a submittal template again. As always, you're pretty well done at this. But now I see that some people are maybe not reading their notes that I leave consistently, because I'm seeing the same problem or the same issue or the same comment I'm making week after week. If you don't know how to read my comments, please make an first of all, get into the Canvas help and figure out how to read comments in your grades. You can get that from your home base through the help on Canvas, or you can make an appointment with me and say, I didn't even realize you were giving me feedback. Can you show me where it is? But it's important um, to start addressing the feedback. If you don't, what I did not take points off and gave you feedback before are going to start losing points, because you're supposed to be getting more and more and more competent at doing these things. That's why it's always the same format and always the same way and always the same look to it, so that you can get good at it and quick, so that it doesn't take you very long. And you may need to learn some tools to do that. So please be sure that you're paying attention, particularly on this front page. I've been given lots of comments to the layout of this section, and only some of them are being addressed, and I make the same comment over and over again. So if you need to see how to read my comments, then go ahead and look in Canvas help or get with me. So do a good job on this layout, and then the same thing goes on these. Really make it clear to somebody who does not know what you're doing. These are for more than just grades and points. This sets your whole background, all of your material for creating a really outstanding portfolio, and portfolios are what get you work. So please, again, on these, do your best to start learning about good design principles, good layout principles. Take your time and really pay attention to making these look outstanding if you can. And if you need some help, many of your colleagues also know how to do this at a high level. I've seen some people that have obviously had some graphic arts, and I presented a lot of those a few weeks ago, and you can get with those students. Or if you want to ask me if I can put you in touch with somebody, I will contact some of those students who have apparently some good background in graphic arts, and see if they'd be willing to work with you, either on a Zoom, on a Google Meet, in Kumo Space, whatever. So if you're struggling and getting constant comments about your visual points, if it's visually appealing, and if you're losing points there, and they're going to start getting steeper and steeper and steeper. Okay, things that in week 1 or 2 or 3 just got a comment, started losing a few tenths of a point in weeks 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, and now in 8, 9, 10, 11, and moving on, they're going to get significantly stronger in the losing points. Also, please be sure to be turning in all of your work in your drawing files. Okay? It very specifically says what goes in here. Any AutoCAD, Revit, SketchUp, Inventor, Excel, PowerPoint, all of those. Okay? And you might even have to put in more. Just putting in a copy of a PDF of your template is not sufficient. Many of you got zeros on that in the last week or two for that. Now, you can put multiple files in here, but if you're not able to do that, if for some reason your system is not allowing that, you can put in a zip file, or you can put in a link to your Google Drive, but I warn you, it needs to be shared properly so I can see it. Okay? So there we go. Please be sure to take care of doing a good job on these drawing and design files. Okay? A bunch of snips and PNGs are not it. I can see those. I need your actual design files as best as I can get. Okay. So there you go. And, sometimes I actually make a mistake and I go past something and I click on it and I didn't see it and you don't get a grade for it. So always bring it back to my attention if I've made a mistake and you actually have submitted something and I missed it. Okay, so there we go. Link to the middle canvas and the files. So let's go to the discussion here. It's really quite interesting. So you guys, the people that did submit their thoughts on housing insecurity, they had some very good thoughts and made some good claims about what I asked, which was, why do you think this might still persist? Now, some of you didn't really couch it in those terms, but I got where you were going, so that's why this thing's on here. But now we need to do the next step, which is to back it up. Okay, so most of them had some sort of a claim, and now it's time to find some real evidence for those claims. And really what I'm looking for is one of the claims that said, and this is the cause, or this is a cause of the problem. Go back and read the ones that were done and find one that says, and the reason is this. And then see if sorry about that. I'm reading this one then. And they all, believe it or not, it was a very nice job. Every single one of them had some sort of a claim on causality. Okay? And so then what I want you to do is pick one of them and find one piece of well-founded documentation or evidence that supports the causal statement that was made. Okay, and that has to be real evidence or real documentation. Newspaper articles rarely do it. Sometimes you can get some that give you actual reports and things like that. But I want to find the statistic or the piece of documentation or the evidence or the report or the .gov site that supports the statement. And I'll talk about why in just a minute. Okay? And then, I can certainly see that all of the statements were true statements. I think everybody made very valid, true statements. What's maybe not as easy to determine is if it really supports the statement as a cause. Or maybe it just so happens to be true, even if it isn't the cause. And this is one of the most difficult things that comes up when you're doing a design review or a project review or anything like that. We find many, many, many true statements, but it's very difficult to actually show that it's a cause. And so I want you to do that if you can. Find a well-founded piece of identification, and then determine whether it's a cause or if maybe, just maybe, it just happens to be true, even if it doesn't make the cause. And then I want you to make a posting. Write out the statement from the last week's post. Write out the documentation or the evidence that you found. And then write out the causal nature of the evidence. Now, sometimes you'll just go, well, it's duh. Well, it's not always duh. Rarely is it duh. You need to put it down in a well-ordered manner that really makes it clear that that statement was the cause. And just be thinking about things that somebody could say that maybe would show it's not the cause. Because that's what we're going to do next week. Not on one of these. I'm going to pick one of my own that happens to be from the city of Davis, where I live, which is a very odd little town. It's what we call NIMBY paradise, not in my backyard. So we have all sorts of great ideals and reasons to do things until it happens in our part of Davis. And so I'm going to bring one up and some arguments about the thing, and then you'll have another chance to look at some of these factors. So this is really hard. This is one of the hardest things to do. And in my career in engineering, I found that I really had to develop this ability, because I'll tell you, when I would go to pitch a project from the R&D or engineering side, or if I was asked to do some design and engineering that supported a project, and then the marketing people were all arguing about whether it was, a good project or not, I always had to come in with actual, real, hard and fast design work. And I cannot tell you how many times somebody tried to violate the basic laws of physics, F equals ma, with their cool marketing pitch. And also so many of their marketing pitches that go, oh yeah, well of course everybody will do that. And then it turned out to be totally wrong. And nobody bought the product. So product pitches will often say something that's true and then claim it as a cause when it is absolutely not a cause. So we're gonna be working on that, and what we're doing now is of utmost importance, because many of the design activities that our students go on to cross paths with approvals, whether it be city, county, state, or just within your client base or your customer base. And so this is a good chance to start working on that. Okay, and this has to do a little bit with the project that we're working on. Okay, so there we go. Now, I will say, if some of you have taken debate and you know the three basic tools of persuasion, ethos, pathos, and logos, you'll recognize that what I'm asking you to do is work on what's called logos, logic, thinking it through, have reasons for everything. And that is not the only way to persuade somebody of something. And if you want to really get good at this, you can look up those and study those and take classes on those. And they do actually pertain to the world of design. I never really got good at ethos or pathos, and I probably couldn't even explain them properly. But I did take a large number of philosophy classes in Logos, and I got that one down, kinda. And so that's where we're moving here because I have a good understanding of it. Okay? So put some time into this one. This one's more important than you might kind of think or understand. Okay, so there it is. That's up for this week. Of course, it doesn't cost a lot, give you a lot of points. Just a small amount of points. So, you know, it'll be hard because it's just good for you. And I realize that some of us don't have time to do just what's good for us. But try. Please do. Please try. So there we go. We've got watch the pre-recorded videos. They're not very long this week. Go through the activity guide. Here's your resource folder. Do your executive summary. Submit your files and do your discussion. And I look forward to seeing more good work out of everybody this week. Thank you.